need of so much healing these days. This week, our hearts were torn apart once again with the news of the day. Jacob Blake was named for his grandfather, the Reverend Jacob Blake Sr., who led the fight for fair housing in Evanston, Illinois, outside of Chicago, throughout the 1960s and 70s. And he led the Ebenezer AME Church congregation. He organized marches, peaceful marches, following the assassination of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And Reverend Blake was pivotal in eventually leading to the Evanston City Council members' banning of racial discrimination in housing. He would not dare have imagined that some 60 years later, his grandson would be shot 7 times in the back by the police in front of his 3 young children, no less. Speaking to news cameras, one of his sisters said, "I am my brother's keeper. This is a human life. His life matters. So many people tell me they're sorry this is happening to my family. Well, don't be sorry," she says, "because this has been happening to my family for a long time, longer than I can account for. I've shed tears for every single one of these people that this has happened to. This is nothing new. I'm not sad. I'm not sorry. I'm angry and I'm tired. I haven't cried once. I stopped crying years ago. I am numb. I have watched police murder people who look like me for years. So I'm not sad. I don't want your pity. I want change." Jacob Blake's mother asked for prayers, not only for her son, but for healing across the country. And today you may have seen that a full-page ad was taken out in the New York Times. It lists the signatures of over 600 Jewish organizations and synagogues representing over half of the Jewish people of the United States of America. Among the signatories are the Union for Reform Judaism, of which Holy Blossom Temple is a part. The URJ is our umbrella organization. And also the CCAR, the Central Conference of American Rabbis, the professional organization to which I belong, and Rabbi Helfman and Rabbi Goodman belong. I'll share just an excerpt or two of what is written in this full-page ad in the New York Times. I encourage you to go and read it in full. There it is written, "We speak with one voice when we say unequivocally, Black Lives Matter. We support the Black-led movement in this country that is calling for accountability and transparency from the government and law enforcement. We know that freedom and safety for any of us depends on the freedom and safety of all of us. When Jewish people join together with our neighbors across racial and religious differences, as we have in the past, we can protect each other and build the future of freedom and safety we all deserve. Jewish tradition teaches us that justice is not something that will be bestowed upon us. It is something that we need to pursue, and that the pursuit is itself sacred work. We'll show up for each other every time one of us is targeted because of our differences, and reject any effort to use fear to divide us against each other. The Black Lives Matter movement is the current day civil rights movement in this country, and it is our best chance at equity and justice. By supporting this movement, we can build a country that fulfills the promise of freedom, unity, and safety for all of us. No exceptions." Over the last number of, months really, I've had a few sensitive conversations, quiet conversations with congregants who are trying to make sense out of the slogan, Black Lives Matter. I understand that some Jews are concerned about an anti-Israel stance that was articulated by some of the early organizers of Black Lives Matter, a group with a capital B, capital L, capital M, a specific organization. But please understand that these three words, Black Lives Matter, are no longer the slogan of a particular group of activists. These three words represent a groundswell of understanding by millions worldwide, including Jews of all stripes and lovers of Israel too. These words simply state the fact that Black lives matter. This was taught to us in the very beginning. It is written in the book of Bereshit. So God created the human beings in the divine image, creating them in the image of God. To even attempt to say otherwise is bigotry and an offense to God on high. These days of Elul, the shofar is sounding each morning. The shofar sounds as an alarm. I only set an alarm when I need to wake up, when I know the night before I'm going to need to wake up the next day, that I won't open my eyes in time, if not for an alarm. And so our tradition preemptively, knowingly says, we need an alarm clock. We won't wake up in time without it. We won't open our eyes to see the hard truths we wish not to see. We wish we're not at all. And so the shofar sounds, calling us to attention. It implies the need for a reminder to wake up. But as Blake's sister said so clearly, this shofar has been wailing for years, for centuries. I'm grateful to Rabbi Erica Ash, who called my attention to this beautiful prayer, which comes from the new Reform Machzor, Mishkan HaNefesh, and it's placed in the shofar service. It's called A Prayer for Righteous Anger. Misery for breakfast, morning coffee with the news of distant deaths, because someone's always suffering somewhere. And there's bound to be a crisis raging, or a quieter catastrophe barely at the threshold of our notice. We're accustomed to the feeling of something going wrong, like static in the background, turned out so that we can get on with our day, tuned out so that we can get on with our day. And it's just the same as yesterday and nothing can be done. So there's not much point in getting too upset. But if something were to shock us, like a baby's piercing wail or a fire bell in the night, like a punch in the stomach or a puncture in the eardrum, like a savage call to conscience or a frantic cry for help, would we scream like a shofar and get mad enough to act? The prophet Amos asks, when a ram's horn is sounded in a city, do the people not take alarm? On the first day of Rosh Hashanah, there will be many opportunities for study in the afternoon, 1:30, on a wide range of study topics with tremendous teachers. Tonight, I just want to call attention to one of them, and that is a panel discussion where Holy Blossom's neighborhood representatives on the city level, the provincial level, and the national level will join us for a conversation about racism and anti-racism in Canada today. City Councillor Josh Matlow, MPP Dr. Jill Andrew, and Member of Parliament Minister Carolyn Bennett will be with us. I encourage you to submit any question you might like to ask them in advance. Send it to me on email, and I will be your voice to them. Whatever it is that you wish to know, whatever it is that you wish to demand, please let it be known, and let Holy Blossom Temple be a forum on a holy day for sounding the shofar and hearing its call. Shabbat Shalom.